I've got a dog, I've got a wife, so I'm a vlog about my life. It's for fun, it's not for fame. And every day I'm gonna do it the same. They call me Iska, call me Iska, call me Iska, call me Iska. Ew, Eska, I hate wine. It's confusing, it tastes gross, it looks gross, and I don't like glass bottles. Well, you know what? Get over it, because I'm going to talk to you about wine. Now you're probably thinking, why are you talking about wine? Well, because I got nothing else to talk about. Actually, you know what? A couple days ago, I had a wine tasting party with me and my wife and my friends. And I've never done it before, and it was kind of fun. But one of the things I know from many people is that wine is kind of sometimes one of those things where you kind of got to learn to like it. It's not one of those things where you first taste it and you're like, ooh, this tastes good. If you were a person who liked it the first time you tried it, then that's great for you. But there are so many different types of wine, so many different styles, places, locations it comes from, tons of different tastes of wine, that it's kind of hard to know where to start, what the basics are, and it can be a little intimidating. I know it's been intimidating for me, especially if you go into a winery or a large wine store or anywhere that sells lots of wine. You kind of look at it and you go, I don't even know what to grab. So you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to share with you some of my experiences from drinking wine and what I've learned and the things that I've learned to like, and some of the things I've learned that I don't like. So where do I start? Well, you know what? I guess the best place to start is the different types of wine. There are lots of different types of wine. Obviously, there are white wines and there are red wines. These right here are all bottles that were red wines. I say were because most of them are empty because we had a wine tasting party, and they were put in someone's stomach. The white wines are usually more of a sweeter wine. Sometimes they can be bitter too, but usually they're a little bit more sweeter. And I personally, when I first started drinking wine, I liked white wines at first because they're a little bit more, the taste is something you're probably going to be closer familiar with. I'm trying to think of something that tastes like white wine that's not wine. You know what? I don't know. I don't even know. You really just have to try it. When I first started drinking wine, the only wine that I could drink were like pink wines, and pink wines are very sweet, and they taste like something you could like I don't know. They taste like a sugary type of a drink, like Kool-Aid or something, except with a little bit more of a kick to it. So if you are going to start drinking wine, you do want to kind of get into it. You're probably going to want to start with something really easy to taste, which is probably going to be like a pink wine or a white wine. I don't like it anymore. When I taste it, it grosses me out even to think about it, which is funny because I used to drink only pink and white wines, and everyone's like, why are you drinking that? But for me, it was something that I could identify with and enjoy. Later down the line, I learned to like red wines by, honestly, you just have to try. You have to try some things. So let me explain the red wines, because that's kind of what I wanted to talk about, are red wines. There are a lot of different types of red wines. The most popular types that you're going to see are, for example, you're going to hear a lot about the Cabernet Sauvignon. I don't think you can see the label there, but that's a Cab. And you're going to hear a lot about Merlot. This is a Merlot. Probably the next thing you're going to hear about, I don't know, depends on who you're with and what they're drinking. This is a Zinfandel. Let's see, here's a Syrah, and here's a Pinot Noir. And the differences in taste can really be identified by not only just the types of wine it is, but where they were, the grapes were grown, who produced it, how long it was fermented for, or how old the wine is. The age will change the way the wine will taste. There are so many things that will change the way the wine will taste that I can't necessarily tell you that you're going to like this or this is going to taste like this. Like a Cabernet might usually have a certain type of of flavor and taste to it. I like cabs because they're usually a little bit more, I don't know how to explain, more, I guess, full-bodied. They're a little bit, they got a little bit more kick to them, yet I feel like they're just kind of good to drink. They can be drunk by themselves, you know, or they can be, or really good with food. Merlots are usually easier drinking. They're usually really smooth, easy to put down, not as potent, I guess you could say, as some of the other wines. And so those are kind of the two I really stick to, although I do like a Zinfandel. And you know, the best way I can describe a Zin to you is most of the Zins I've tasted are like a barbecue type flavor. And when I say barbecue, I mean it tastes a little smoky and earthy, and it's really good. I really like a Zinfandel, but I like wines that are really strong. So if you're first going to get into red wine, I might suggest a Merlot. I might even suggest something that's not so old. Like this here is a 2007. Maybe you should start with something a little bit younger, because I feel like younger wines are usually a little bit more sweeter. That's not always true. I'm not saying that, you know, don't go crazy, but I'm saying that a lot of the younger wines I've tasted do taste a little bit sweeter. This is a sweet wine, actually. I did not like this. As you can see, most people didn't, because it's sitting here. And feel free to read the backs of bottles, because the back of the bottle, a lot of them will describe to you, you know, what it tastes like. This one says it's a ripe and juicy wine with explosive flavors of raspberry, pomegranate, and luscious cherry. It says that it's excellent served chilled. You know what? Just reading that is a big it's a big warning label for me, because if it's served chilled, to me that means it's probably going to be pretty sweet. Because typically red wines you do not want to have chilled. People say that you should have it at room temperature. Well, room temperature doesn't necessarily mean 74 degrees. I guess room temperature really comes from the way that the temperature of like years ago, hundreds of years ago, when they didn't have air conditioning, and like the inside of a house or a castle or something was like 64 degrees. So, you know, depending on the type of wine, because every wine's different, it's usually between 50 to 65 degrees is the best way to serve it. You don't want your red wine too cold; it just doesn't taste good. But you don't want it too warm, because the same thing. So in there really makes a difference. And as you taste wine and you kind of get into it, you'll definitely start to realize that, yeah, I do like my wine when it's served room temperature. It makes a big difference. Let's see, what else is there to talk about? Here's one thing that I learned recently. Here, I'll show you this. This is a pretty big wine glass. I like this glass a lot. Another thing and the reason why I'm moving into this information right now is because the wine glass reminded me of this. When you do drink a red wine, you do like to, well, most depending on the wine, again, because every wine's different, and these are just things you have to learn and look into, and feel free to ask people, because nobody knows everything about wine. I feel like there are a lot of different opinions out there about wine. But anyway, most red wines need to be aerated, and what that means is when you buy a bottle of wine, don't just open it, pour it, and start drinking it. Most wines need to sit for a little while and to let some air flow through them. It just brings out the flavor better. And the reason why I thought of this when I saw this big glass is because this glass is shaped like this so that the wine can breathe. When I do pour a bottle of glass, and let me show you this. If you want to go ahead and pour your wine right away after opening your bottle, you don't want to pour it and just start drinking it. The best thing you can do is to twirl it like this. I suggest doing it on the table. And what that does is that's allowing air to get into your wine. You'll see some bubbles in there, which is fine. You can also do it in the air, although you got to be really careful not to spill it, because you do want your wine to breathe. And one thing that I did buy here, which I thought was kind of cool, let me grab this over here, is an aerator. And basically it does it for you. You pour the wine through here. It's got a little bit of a filter in case there's any sediment, and then it'll actually aerate the wine and pour it into the glass. So that's kind of cool. But anyway, let me see. Any last things I can think of while I'm talking about wine? I didn't really plan anything specific about this. Oh yes, the wine meniscus. This is what is called a wine meniscus, and that is the color that you see on the outside, like the ring you see on the outside of a wine when you're looking at it over a white surface. This isn't the best surface to show it to you, and as you can see, if I can move it in the right place, most of this is just pink. Especially when I tilt it pretty well here, you can see it's pink. To me, that's a warning label that it's probably going to be very sweet, a little bit less full-bodied. It's going to be a lighter wine. If it's a heavier wine, you'll see the center of the wine, especially after looking over a white surface, will be darker. You'll see inside this circle here a darker inside, and then sometimes you'll see like a lighter outside. It just depends on the wine. So I don't know. Look up some videos on the meniscus of a wine and those different things. And this video is kind of getting too long, so I'm gonna have to stop there. But I just want to share with you guys some of my thoughts on red wine. My favorite. I love the Cab. I love the Zin. I do like some Merlots, but everyone likes something different. I just like really hearty, full-bodied wines, and I love the tannins. And the tannins is like the alcohol that you get in a wine, and I don't know. There's a lot of stuff. So I'm gonna stop talking now because the video's gone way too long. So hopefully I can upload it. Okay, bye.